so Tim, this is going to take me a few minutes because the issue I'm going to solve is harder to explain than the solution. So I'm going to dive into that real quickly. But the trader hack I want to show you today, guys, is probably the most important. I say this every week, probably the most important. But it's about position sizing, and a lot of it has to do with basic math. But, basic math sucks. Unless you really like math and you're going over a lot of charts as a trader. If you're not real good at math, you're going to love this hack because the most important thing about trading is risk management. And you guys have seen me, I've seen probably said, I don't know, a million times, Tim, and you've probably seen this too, is position sizing is your first line of defense when it comes to risk. And I don't know about you, Tim, you and I talked about this, and I think Mark and I have talked about this, but a lot of problems we see with students' portfolios or brand new traders is they position size wrong. Sometimes it's too big. That's the big problem. They position size wrong as far as not the consistent amount of shares. They're just not doing the math. They're not thinking about the risk, and it catches you off guard. So this simple little tool, it really is cool. And, you guys know Frank Martin, Breakout Frank. I see him using this all the time. He loves this. Now, I'm good at math. I can do math in my head. Sometimes I make mistakes, and, I probably should be using this tool more often. And I use it a lot to build our stock and options report. So let me show you how I do it. So I'm bringing up a chart. Do you see this chart here, Tim? I just randomly picked Apple. Is that showing up on yours? I just randomly picked Apple here just because this is an old chart. It's like a few days old, whatever. But I was just looking for an example. So when you look at a chart, the first thing you do is you're trying to figure out, where do you put the entry? Where's your trigger to get in? Where's your target? Because if you're greedy, of course, you're looking for profit. That's why we're doing this, right? But this tool I'm going to show you solves two problems. The first thing is, where do you put your exit? So like there's many choices. Like if I put my exit here, and we use different rules on our step system, our swing trading system. So as a swing trader, I might put it below this candle, or I might put it below this candle. Now, there's two issues going through your head here. It'll take me a couple of seconds to explain it, but I just want to make sure we're all on the same mind path here. We're all on the same link. And then when I show you the solution, you're going to go, oh, that's cool. So if I put my stop loss here, it's kind of close to the entry, but look at how big the reward is to my stop loss. That's a good risk reward ratio, right? But if I put my stop way down here, it gives it room. It's definitely a stronger support down here, less chance of getting. So if I get in here and it goes, less chance of getting stopped out, right? So I want a wide stop, but I do want to target. So your basic entry, target, stop loss. So the biggest question we get all the time is, where do I put my stop loss? And what you really should be asking yourself is this: if I put my stop loss there, and I'm going to zoom into this so you can see it. If I put my stop loss here, how is that different from the stop loss here as far as position sizing? That's really what the mathematics is about. So number one, if I get in here and I put my stop here, how many shares do I use if I put my stop loss at exit 1? How many shares? Versus if I put my stop loss at number 2. See, the shares are going to have to change because this exit number 2, it's much further away. So you have to use less shares. Well, that can take you all day trying to figure that out. And if you have a calculator, so you know what most people do? They do it the lazy way. They go, I'll just do 100 shares. I'll just do 50. I'll just keep my eye on it, right? I see that a lot. And you can't do that. If you're running the business of trading, you cannot do that. You have to be consistent and correct. Your position size has to be consistent. Then finally, Tim, and this is secondary. This is secondary to the whole problem here. What is the risk versus reward? Or another way of saying it, what's your ratio of profit to risk? Is the ratio, are you making enough to justify this risk? So the simple tool, let me jump into it here, is on TradingView and certain softwares, we do have this built into our stock and options report for you. You can simply do this, two things. When you log in and you go to your watch list, first thing you do is you type in the account size you're trading with. And then second and finally, what % risk do you want to trade with? And now this could change daily, this could change weekly, but this is consistent. By using a percent, it's consistent. And guess what? No math needed. The software does everything for you. So once you put that in, which actually takes like 2 seconds, I'm going to do it for you here. Boom, check this out. If I click on that tool, it says if you enter here and you put your stop loss and exit 1, you need to do 123 shares. That's 1% of your account risk. But if you put your stop loss down here, guess what? It changes it to 38 shares. No math needed. It's still 1% of your portfolio risk. You don't have to figure out how many shares. It's perfect right to the share amount. And what I do, Tim, is I usually round this down a few shares to, if there's commissions involved and stuff. Secondly, let me go back to that. See my stop loss here of 123 shares? It also tells you my risk reward ratio is 1:6, which means I'm going to make $1.6 for every dollar I risk. So that's a good risk reward ratio. It's not quite 2-to-1, but it's better than 1-to-1. But if I put my stop loss down here, it drops my risk reward to 50 cents on the dollar, which isn't real good. So watch how easy it is to set up. This is so easy. I'm going to bring up our stock report. I'm just going to randomly pick, this is last week, guys, because only our pro members get the updated this week. I'm going to pick News Corp here. Now, if you guys are pro members, or if you want to be pro members, just log in. It's in here. It's in here. You just go through the watch list, and we got quite a few picks. So watch how simple I do this. This is really easy. All you do is you find where you want your trigger point. What do you think, Tim, right about there? 24.60. I'm going to go with this double top here, right? And right away, I'm thinking a stop loss either here or here. So I find, my entry. I go over here to the position sizing tool. You see the little hamburger thing here? I click that, and I go back to my entry. Boom. Now check this out. I'm going to bring it over to the left so you can see it. If I put my trigger right here at 24.60, and I can adjust it, I'm going to move my target up to the top of these candles. Now, I'm not worried about my target right now. You see how this little settings button pops up? I'm just going to pick a random, I don't know, let's say a $15,000 account, step 1. And final step, I'm just going to say, I don't know, 1%. 1% of my account. And I can even say 1.5, I don't know, 1.5, whatever it is, keep that consistent. I'm going to use that percentage on every trade. I hit OK, and there you go. So if I put my stop loss below this candle right here, 330 shares is 1% of my account. If I put it below this one, 151 shares is 1% of my account. So my risk is consistent. Even if I put my stop loss way down here, guess what? 73 shares. I didn't have to do any math. Isn't that nice? I didn't have to do any math, and I could literally, and I'm going to say, okay, now what about my risk reward? My risk reward here is 53 cents on the dollar. Don't like that. If I go right here, that's a 1-to-1 risk reward with 146 shares. What if I do like a breakout Frank trade just below this one? Now there's a Frank trade right there. 2-to-1 risk reward. See, my reward's twice as big as my risk. 292 shares and done. Now, last thing, Tim, watch how easy it is. Once I've typed it in there, I can just go to the next stock. Here's RF. I'm going to put my trigger. I'm going to grab my trigger. I'm going to put it right there. Let me put this to the side so you can see it. And I want my stop loss right there. 175 shares. Done. Now I want a 2-to-1 risk reward. I'm going to bring this up to here. Let's say 1.5 risk reward. Right there. Done. So here's my target, 1.5 to 1. You know what? I want to put my stop loss a little farther. 129 shares. Done. So I could literally just click any stock now, and all I have to do is hit my position sizer, trigger there, and I'm going to put my stop loss right. I'm going to move this aside so you can see it. I'm going to put it, that's pretty logical, right there. Based on that, 42 shares. Math is done, and if I click my settings, I'm set at 1.5% risk on a $15,000 account. Simple as that. Like I said, the solution is much faster than the problem, but that is so important that you use a tool like that. Finally, Tim, you're saying, but what if I do options? We'll get into this next week, but you see my shares here, like it says, let me move this to the side a little more. 39 shares, you'd be using a 39 delta. If I put my Stop loss closer, 59 shares. I use a 59 delta. So I'd buy a call with a 59 delta or 2 calls with a 30 delta. That's your delta or your shares for your option traders out.